I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey Patriot Warrior fam, I'm Face, and these are the histories that America forgot. According to Wikipedia, quote, "The Battle of Bloody Brook was fought on September 28, 1675, between an indigenous war party primarily composed of Pecumtuck warriors and other local indigenous people from the central Connecticut River Valley, and the English colonial militia of the New England Confederation and their Mohegan allies during King Philip's War. The crop fields of the Pecumtuck and other Connecticut River Valley nations were desired by the English. However, the Pecumtuck in particular were resistant to ceding their land. The Pecumtuck were the dominant power in the central Connecticut River Valley, orchestrating powerful alliances and forcing the English allied Mohegans into tribute. However, after a 1664 war with the Mohawk fractured both nations and destabilized the region, the Pecumtuck were compelled to begin selling land. Subsequently, the Connecticut River Valley would represent the western border of the Massachusetts Bay Colony. However, English involvement with the Pecumtuck-Mohawk War and subsequent dealing in obtaining Pecumtuck land contributed to local and region-wide resentment against English habitation in New England. Although the English were tolerated, the Pecumtuck Confederacy quickly joined Metacomet's forces at the outbreak of King Philip's War. In the early stages of King Philip's War, English forces in the Southern Theater experienced many smaller defeats on the western front line, which sent the English scrambling to reinforce their settlements in the Connecticut River Valley. Looking to act defensively in this Connecticut River campaign, the English set out to gather the considerable amount of corn grown at Pecumtuck or Deerfield to feed their garrisons. Led by Pecumtuck sachem Sangumachu, the Pecumtuck Confederacy was reinforced by their Nipmuc and Wampanoag allies. The indigenous war party ambushed and annihilated a company of militia escorting a train of wagons, carrying the harvest from Pecumtuck to Hadley on the Connecticut River Valley, killing at least 58 militiamen and 16 teamsters. A short while after, this was followed by an extended battle against waves of pro-English reinforcements. The battle had a significant impact on English consciousness in the war. This major defeat, amongst others, elicited aggressive responses by the English, such as a preventative war against the Narragansetts that winter, and the 1976 Pesce-Ompscut massacre, which ended indigenous dominance of the Connecticut River Valley. Pecumtuck refugees fled to New York and the Wabanaki Confederacy. Bloody Brook was particularly commemorated by Euro-American residents of Massachusetts in the 1800s. On the 28th of September 1675, a large Pecumtuck, Nipmuc, and Wampanoag force of at least several hundred warriors laid a well-planned and executed ambush on approximately 67 English militia, 17 teamsters from Deerfield, and their slow-moving ox carts as they crossed Muddy Brook. The approximate site of the ambush was a gently flowing stream in a small clearing, bordered by a wet floodplain and surrounded by thickets, roughly 5 miles from where they set off, in what is today South Deerfield. The number of warriors has been suggested to be between 500 and 700, but the combination of few survivors and poor record-keeping makes exaggerations possible. Apparently no flankers or vanguards were organized, and it was later reported that as the heavy ox carts slowed during the stream crossing, some of the militiamen had laid their weapons in the carts and were picking wild grapes along the trail. This apparent lack of caution may have been due to an over-reliance on the scouting of Mosley's company, along with the English perception that Metacomet's forces preferred to attack unsuspecting border towns and garrison houses rather than large companies of English soldiers. By all accounts, most English participants, including all but one teamster, were dead within minutes of the attack. Deerfield historian Epaphras Hoyt suggests that the main body of the English troops had crossed the brook and were waiting for the slow-moving team of carts to negotiate through the rough roads. Once encircling the entire company, the sudden first volley outright killed or disabled much of Lathrop's company. Fighting soon continued following the arrival of roughly 70 Massachusetts Bay militia under Captain Mosley from Deerfield, who are said to have repeatedly charged the much larger force, in a more extended engagement moving deep into the woods. Upon an attempted encirclement of Mosley's overextended forces, Mosley ordered a line formation to avoid getting flanked and initiated a cautious retreat. Finally, the arrival of 100 Connecticut Colony militia under Major Treat and 60 Mohegan warriors under Attawamhood from Hadley forced the indigenous war party into retreat, with the battle possibly only ending at nightfall. Of the original English party, all but about 10 colonists were killed, including Lathrop. One of the survivors was the chaplain of Captain Lathrop's company, Reverend Hope Atherton. Of the 17 men from Deerfield, only one survived. 8 left widows and 26 children. Nothing in the written record pertains to the killed or wounded among the indigenous forces, nor how they commemorated the battle and their dead. Indigenous losses are suggested to have been heavy as a result of their engagements with Mosley, Major Treat, and Attawamhood, although this is speculation. Metacomet's forces tended to carefully conceal their losses. The next morning, Mosley's company returned to the original battleground to bury Lathrop's men, teamsters, and other casualties, where they were apparently being stripped of valuables. Muddy Brook was renamed by the English as Bloody Brook, as a consequence of the battle. The mass grave located along the trail south of the brook was confirmed by 19th century exploration. Lathrop's men may have been contemporaneously referred by Reverend William Hubbard as, quote, the flower of the county of Essex, end quote, as they mirrored the demographic norm of their society, unlike other contemporary militias which leaned on recruiting criminals and men in the fringes of society. Even so, militia conscription committees such as in Raleigh still universally preferred men from non-founding families of towns and those from the wrong side of religious controversy, such as being anti-shepherd. Mosley and the survivors retired to Deerfield at nightfall, where they were apparently taunted by the victorious warriors. Deerfield was fully abandoned by the English 3 days after the battle, with Mosley relocating his forces to garrison Hatfield, bringing with him Deerfield's garrison and inhabitants, while Major Treat's troops garrisoned Northampton and Northfield. Metacomet's forces continued their momentum by besieging and burning Springfield to the ground, leading to the replacement of Major Pynchon by Major Appleton. In light of Bloody Brook and the Connecticut River Campaign, the subsequent Massachusetts General Court in October 1675 committed several charges to the militia structure, converting all pikemen, 1/3 of their force, to musketeers, granting autonomy to local town committees of militia, codifying the command structure and garrison soldier duties, and regulating the conduct and discipline of active duty soldiers on campaign. Metacomet's allied forces and their families wintered in Schaghticoke, New York, where Metacomet attempted to encourage the Mohawk to join the war. Fearful of further defeats, colonial forces redeployed their forces from the Connecticut River Campaign and preemptively struck the neutral Narragansetts in the winter, culminating in the Great Swamp Fight. Metacomet's fortunes, particularly in the Connecticut River Valley, were dashed by the Mohawk, who orchestrated a surprise attack on Metacomet's camp in Schaghticoke, devastating his forces. Mohawk intervention in King Philip's War continued with attacks on anti-English villages and supply lines in Massachusetts. Subsequently, Metacomet reestablished his base of operations in the Connecticut River Valley. This attrition compounded the growing dissatisfaction of the Connecticut River Valley nations in 1676. Although buffeted by victories, such as at Sudbury, the sheer number of Narragansett and Wampanoag from both Schaghticoke and war-torn eastern New England severely strained the resources of the Pocumtuck Confederacy and the Nipmucks. Additionally, the failure of a speedy victory over the western English river towns, as promised by Metacomet, typified by repulses at Northampton and Hatfield, the execution of the charismatic Narragansett sachem, Canonchet, and the redeployment of English forces under Major Savage to the intensifying war in the East led to initial negotiations with local Connecticut colonial authorities. Pending negotiations and Metacomet's visit to the region in response, more indigenous communities moved to fishing spots in large numbers in order to secure their provisions, relaxing their defenses and relying on opportune moments for raiding English personnel and livestock. This vulnerability led to the final blow for the Pocumtuck Confederacy in the form of the 1676 Peskeomskut Massacre. After a raid on Deerfield's fields dispersed 70 English cattle, Captain William Turner and his men launched a retaliatory night attack at Peskeomskut fishing village, killing 300 people, mostly women and children. Turner's settler army was routed when neighboring warriors attacked. The massacre was a turning point in King Philip's War, and with Metacomet's death in the same year, this led to the eventual expulsion of most indigenous people from the Connecticut River Valley. These refugees would mostly evacuate to Schaghticoke at the invitation of New York Governor Edmund Andros. Pocumtuck was resettled and officially renamed as Deerfield by the English nearly a decade later. In 1691, 150 Pocumtuck refugees returned to their homeland at the invitation of Massachusetts colonial leaders, on the condition that they avoid warfare. English settlers sought a buffer of friendly indigenous people to help guard against French and indigenous attacks from the north. However, the Pocumtuck were subject to duplicitous deals regarding land rights and tit-for-tat extrajudicial killings, and would be forcibly expelled from their homeland by Pynchon and Deerfield's English settlers due to prejudice. This was reinforced by the indiscriminate scalp bounty introduced in 1694 targeting all unconfined indigenous people in Massachusetts, which was exploited by Pynchon. Although dispersed, many Pocumtuck in particular joined the victorious Abenaki in the north, with many Abenaki warriors of Pocumtuck Confederacy heritage returning to raid Deerfield with the allied nations in the subsequent French and Indian Wars.
Yeah, let's go. I'm unstoppable, do the impossible. I'm irresponsible, yet I'm phenomenal. I got an arsenal, I'm dropping bombs, you know. No, I'm not stopping, no. Conquer the obstacle. To the top, here I go, think I'm chosen to be the king of rock, think the people have spoken. I can hear the tick-tock of the clock, I'm in motion. So now I'm gonna pop, causing all this commotion.
Yeah, sometimes I think that I'm unstoppable. Yeah, ready to go, man, lock and load. That's right, I swear to God that I could drop you, bro. Yeah, I got a shot and I ain't stopping, no. That's how I know that I'm unstoppable. That's how I know that I'ma do this thing my way. Let's go. Been grinding hard on it all day. Okay. We work hard, then we all play. Yeah. I'm addicted to the grind, man. That's right. So I refuse to waste time, man. Yeah. One day it all will be fine, man. Let's go. Gotta commit to the climb. You know we're back with the Guinness, setting records every minute, every track. In addiction to the fact that we're winning, still we lack something's missing. Need a track that is hitting, making racks, making millions.
Oh, yeah.
That's the mission. I don't waste time, no, I make time. All these people wanna hate, fine, I'ma make mine. While you sitting there complaining, I'll be training. While you sitting there just waiting, I'm creating. Yeah. Sometimes I think that I'm unstoppable.